Good evening, everyone, and a very, very warm welcome to today's session. Thank you for taking the time to join us for this important and meaningful discussion on perimenopause from an Ayurvedic perspective. Before we begin, I would like to inform you that today's session is being recorded for educational purposes and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. If you prefer not to appear in the recording, please feel free to keep your video off except for Dr. Manju. Due to health reasons, I will be moderating this session with my video off as well. However, I'm very much present with you and looking forward to guiding the session. It's my honor to introduce Dr. Manju, a qualified Ayurvedic practitioner and the founding director of Ayurhitam, an Ayurvedic wellness clinic in California. She has over 15 years of experience as a clinical pharmacist in an allopathic medical field, and she brings a unique integrative approach to client care, ensuring precise and effective treatment selection. With her dual background in pharmacy and Ayurveda, she is committed to demonstrating the clinical effectiveness of Ayurveda in modern healthcare. Dr. Manju's vision is to restore Ayurveda's lost glory and establish it as a recognized scientific discipline. Manju currently serves as the president of the California Association of Ayurvedic Medicine. In addition to her professional contribution, she volunteers and teaches Bhagavad Gita at the GR Educational Trust. She has guided numerous patients through natural healing approaches and believes deeply in balancing body, mind, and lifestyle. Her practical and compassionate approach makes complex health topics very easy to understand and implement. We are truly grateful to have her here today to guide us on perimenopause and the solutions from an Ayurvedic perspective. Manju, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Jyotsna, for that warm welcome. And I want to just give a disclaimer that I'm not a doctor. I am Manju because in United States, Ayurveda is not a licensed. So I just wanted to give that disclaimer, but thank you so much for that warm welcome, Jyotsna. And it warms my heart when I see all of these enthusiasts wanting to know about Ayurveda and incorporating in your daily life. So before we start, is it okay if we ground ourselves and invoke the energy of Lord Dhanvantari? Wherever you are, I would love for you to put your feet on your ground. Close your eyes if you feel like. Bring your palms to the heart center. Observe your breath. Take a deep breath in and breath out. We will invoke the energy of Lord Dhanvantari. Namami Dhanvantarim Adidevam Surasurair Vandita Padmam Loke Chararubhaya Mrityunasham Dhataramisham Vividhaushadhinam Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Whenever you feel like, you may gently open your eyes. All right, so welcome everybody. Jyotsna says that almost all of you have asked to talk about peri-menopause, and here I am. I'm going to talk a little bit for about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, depending upon how it goes. If you have any questions in between, you're more than welcome to interrupt me and ask me in the chat. But before we begin, I just wanted to check how many of us here are familiar with Ayurveda or has done any Ayurveda in the past?
So I
Yes.
have done some Ayurveda for cold and cough. We use that I don't know the yellow packets. I can't remember the name out of my.
Pitta Churnam.
Yeah, the churnam we use for my son, and
Okay.
it works sometimes. Not
Okay.
all the time, but yeah, definitely whenever the cold starts, I do that.
Okay, excellent. So I wanted to check. I know Malika is familiar, Jyotsna is familiar, but the reason I wanted to know is the depth of knowledge that I wanted to cover today, right? Because there's a variety of knowledge that is out there about Ayurveda, and I wanted to, understand how is it, how much have gone for Sukha Chikitsa, I've done course in Ayurveda, Vijay Lakshmi. Okay, excellent. So, I'm just going to talk a little bit basic before we understand and before we go to the perimenopause, right? Because in Ayurveda, and when we are talking about perimenopause, this is one thing that I was talking to Jyotsna earlier, is that we talk about menopause as if it's like a aging kind of a phenomenon. And remember, out of all the mammals, only females or humans, whales, are the ones that go through menopause and still live. All the other mammals, after menopause, they do not live. So there is a reason for us to go through menopause and still have, 30, 40, 50 years afterwards. Is if we are aging, if we think that we are aging at menopause, then we would be living as if we are aging for 50 years, right? That's not something that we want to do. We would have acquired a lot of information from our grandmothers. The information that we received from our grandmothers is something that we wouldn't get anywhere, and that they speak from experience, like the sessions that you are getting from Jyotsna every week. This, she's speaking from her experience. And that is what humans go through also after menopause. The reason what Vanaprastha is what Jyotsna was talking about earlier, that you have to stay back and you have to transfer this knowledge out to the generation that is currently present. So, to begin with, I want to let us all know, I want us all to remember that menopause is not an aging phenomenon. Just like there is puberty that's happening the first time, this is a second puberty that is happening. However, I want us to remember that there are three phases that are present in Ayurveda. The first phase is a building phase. When a child is growing, a child is born as a 5, 6, 7, 8 pounder, and then they transform into 120, 130, 140, 150 pounders. And that is all building. Ever since they're born, they keep building. This is what we call the kapha stage of the life. For technical terms, I'm just introducing the terms of kapha stage of the life. So that is more of where we have panchabhutas, right? Five elements are present. Here, there's more of the water element present, earth element present. When there is water element and earth element, remember that this is all stability, this is all building. That is why kids in the young age, they always have these colds, congestions, and coughs. They're prone to all of that, no? Because this is more of the building stage, water element is more. If that is much more, then they get all of these colds and coughs, etc. Now, when we're getting into the teenage, when you're getting into the puberty, it is like the transition that is happening. And that transition is the transformation that is happening from this water element and earth element into the fire element. That fire element kicks in and the hormones mature. Remember that all the eggs that we need are already present during our birth itself. As an embryo is developing, all the eggs that are present is going to be is going to be there. The eggs that are needed are going to be there. Now, that eggs are now becoming matured during this stage of puberty. But because we are already in the building stage, the transition is a little bit smoother. Of course, you're going to be experiencing cramping, you're going to be experiencing change in moods, you're going to be experiencing some changes in the body temperature, the way the body looks like. All of that we're able to withstand because we've been building all the time, and the fire is coming in, and it's possible for us to transform. Yeah. And then you have to remember what is the type of food and lifestyle that we have been leading while while the periods are happening, during menstruating years. What is the type of lifestyle that I'm leading while my periods are happening? When my period is happening, am I working out so much? Am I, doing a lot of activity in the house? What kind of food am I eating? Am I eating heavy foods? When that is happening, the hormones that are being produced and the eggs that are being produced during that time are affected with the lifestyle and with the food that we eat. Yeah. Now, every month we always know that body always thinks that we're getting pregnant, and body prepares our all of our hormones to become pregnant, and then menstruation happens. Now, when all the egg reserves are depleted, or when they're coming to depletion, right? At the age of 30, 40, 40s, early 40s is when we know that we are getting into the depletion. The reserves, the egg reserve that is there has depleted. And what is the hormone that is much more when the egg reserve is much more? Anybody wants to answer?
Estrogen.
Estrogen. So this estrogen, remember this estrogen as a building hormone. Yeah. So this estrogen is much more in the beginning stages because the number of eggs that are present is much more. And this building hormone, that is why you have good juices flowing, you have good subcutaneous fat that's happening, you have good cartilage that's happening, your myelin sheath is working properly, you're able to function better, your exercise capacity is much more, you're able to sleep well because there's stability, because this estrogen is functioning very, very well, and it is able to release all of these building things for us. Now, as the eggs deplete, imagine that this water element and the earth element that we were building as a child is depleting. When that depletion is happening, what happens at that stage? Then that is where your air element and space element is going to be increasing. When air element and space element increases, what is one dosha? Anybody, any Ayurveda geeks here that would want to tell me what is that one dosha that aggravates during this time when the egg reserve has reduced? I thought I
Pitta?
wanted.
Is it like pitta or kapha? Or, I don't know.
So
Vata dosha.
Vata dosha, because this is the air element and the space element that is increased, and that is you're depleting, you're in that depleting stage. So the same person that was charming, that has good subcutaneous fat, that had lustrous hair, that was able to do a lot of muscle training, strength training, strong bones, now suddenly starts to have receding gums, suddenly starts to have headaches, maybe hot flashes, hair starts to become thinner, and abdominal fat becomes much more. There's more visceral fat, there's less subcutaneous fat, that there's more visceral fat, and there's more dryness, there's vaginal dryness, itching, and it's also the bones becomes more fragile. There's also risk of cardiovascular disease, and you have dry skin, you have drooping breasts, and all of these new things start happening, and you're like, this is not me, this is not natural, this is not normal. 5 years ago I would run a marathon. What's happening now? I've had a client who came to me, and she was 60 at that time, and she said, only because I had COVID is why I menopaused. And she menopaused at age 57, and she did not want to menopause at that age also. right? So we live in that stage of, I was like that and I want to stay like that. This is the natural transition that the body is doing. However, if this natural transition is giving you much more trouble, that you're not able to do your daily activities, or it is interrupting you with your daily activities, that's when it is important for us to go back and check, what is the activity that I've been doing, what foods have I been eating all the time, what is the lifestyle that I've been leading all the time. Is that aggravating much more of the pitta, which is the heat element in the body, which is why I'm experiencing hot flashes in the night? Was I eating spicy, sour, salty foods? Was I angry all the time? Was I not sleeping well so much? Was I leading a company and I was managing all these 100 employees and I wanted to make sure that I deliver? And of course, there is a lot of heat that is developed in my body, and when this heat is much more, it is important that heat is expressed in some way. And that expression is seen in the form of hot flashes. You have your blanket in the night, you suddenly are like, oh my God, I cannot handle this blanket anymore. I want to remove this blanket because I'm super hot. And when you remove that blanket, you feel super cold. And then you put that blanket back on. Or you're like eternally thirsty and you're drinking lots of water, or you have this burning urination. So of course this is a sign that your body is saying that there is excessive heat in the body and I want to get rid of it, and this is the way that body is trying to get rid of it. Yeah. And others would probably feel more of the brittle bones or receding gums, or dryness in the body, or dryness in the hair, vaginal dryness. That happens. The suppleness that is present in the skin is reduced. That could be because I've been doing a lot of intermittent fasting, too much intermittent fasting. I've seen my friends gain a lot of benefit from doing intermittent fasting, and I wanted to do that intermittent fasting too. And I was not sleeping well in the night. And I have a job where I have to talk all day long, or I have a job where I have to travel too much, or I have been eating foods that does not have any oil in them because my doctor said oil is bad and oil is going to increase cholesterol and I'm not going to include oil in my diet. So this increases a dosha called, I just wanted to ask questions just so that I know that I'm reaching you. I'm speaking without slides, and I want to make sure that what I'm speaking is actually understandable for you. Or is it too much? So I have traveled too much. I'm talking too much. I am not eating well. I'm doing too much intermittent fasting. I am not including oil in my diet. What is the element out of air, space, fire, water, earth increases in me?
Fire.
Air.
Fire.
More than fire element,
Air element.
air element. So the air element, it is the Vata dosha again. The air element and the space element has increased. Yeah, Vijayalakshmi, 10 on 10. Whichever Ayurveda course you've taken, you're using that for sure. So that the air and the space element has increased. Now, when the air and the space element increases, imagine that you are in a hurricane, or imagine that you're exposed to excessive air right in front of you. You're riding a bike and you're exposed to that air. What happens when you come home? You feel depleted, you feel exhausted. You would not have done anything. All you're doing is just put a fan right in front of you and stay there for 1 hour. Afterwards, you notice what happens to yourself. That is the depletion that happens in your body if this has been happening for years together. For years together, you are doing activities in such a way that your vata has aggravated, then of course you're going to be seeing brittleness in your bones. Of course, because there's depletion that's happening, no? This earth element and water element is not there, and that is being replaced with the air element and space element, and that cartilage is reduced. And of course, you're going to be seeing dryness in the vaginal area. You're going to be seeing dryness all over the body, brittleness in the hair, and drooping is going to be happening, because there's not a lot of, you cannot, the muscles will not hold, the tonicity of the muscles is going to be lost. All of this is happening. Yeah. Now we'll look at the next scenario. The next scenario is going to be where you are a couch potato. You do not like to work at all. Of course, all of us, whatever work you do, you're an Ayurvedic doctor, you're a software engineer, all of us are sitting on the desk only. Most of us are sitting down on the desk. You do not like working out at all. You love eating sweets. You love sleeping so much. You're always sleeping, sleep is your best buddy. So what are the elements that increases at that time? The
Kapha.
kapha, which is the water, and the earth element is increasing. When that is happening, of course, you're going to be seeing the weight gain that is happening, especially in the midsection where the visceral fat increases. And that brain fog where you're like, okay, what's happening again? What was I'm supposed to attend a session that Jyotsna is conducting? Oh, I can't remember. Where the brain fog happens. You're not able to make a decision. You are experiencing a lot of lethargy. You cannot do any activity without having that breathlessness. You have that increased midsection. No matter what you do, you feel like you're beaten up and you're not able to change anything, and you cannot see yourself in the mirror. And this is what happens. Again, I'm talking about extreme conditions, right? Because we have to understand, if this perimenopausal conditions are not some things that we are able to handle, then of course this is because of the excessive doshas that are happening. What are the doshas that are creating all of this? And that's why I wanted to talk about three different scenarios. In these three different scenarios, and that is why the perimenopausal symptoms that Vaishali experiences could be different from what Revati experiences to what Chitra experiences, because each one of us came with a different blueprint. Our parents gave us a blueprint, and as we came with a blueprint, we could have come with a kapha blueprint, you could have come with a fiery personality, and then with that blueprint, you change that blueprint, which is called epigenetics. We talk about genetics first. Genetics is the blueprint we have come with. And then that genetics is going to be changed according to the diet and the lifestyle that we have led throughout all of these 40 years. And that will allow your environment to change completely. When everybody wants to come and live in California, barring the earthquakes, it is because of the temperate environment. That's where the flora and fauna grows. And that is the kind of environment all of us are comfortable in. And nothing against you. I know Vijay Lakshmi is in Florida, but it's hot and humid there. And that's also a place where you would want to give in. And there's more flora and fauna there as well. I wouldn't want to go and live in Arizona, which is super hot and dry and only cactus grows there. I can't eat anything that grows there. Or even in where it is hot, cold, like Iceland, nothing grows there. So, what is the environment that I'm keeping inside my body? How am I changing my environment? It all depends on us. What is the food that we're eating continuously? What is the lifestyle that we're leading continuously? And what is the reason that it is a Friday, 6 p.m., and you're all wanting to sit here and listen to this talk? Because this is extremely important for you. Instead, you could have chosen to go with your girlfriends and enjoy and have fun, but you've chosen this because you want to change your environment genuinely. And once you learn all of this, you're going to be changing your environment. And that is what I wanted to talk about, introducing Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, and how the perimenopausal symptoms are connected. Now, I'll also talk about quickly before we go into questions. I also want to talk about mind. How is our mind connected to what is happening in the body? Right? When we are eating anything, when we are chewing things, the thoughts that you have are going to be releasing a neurotransmitter. There are multiple neurotransmitters, norepinephrine, dopamine. There is many things that are released according to the type of thoughts that you have. If you're used to watching a TV, watching a show, watching a TV serial while you're eating, then all the TV I have not watched. I'm very notorious in my friend group. People ask about all of these, Netflix shows and all. I do not know them. However, I know that they are all make sure that they're very commercial. You have all of these language that you wouldn't use in a normal day-to-day life. If you're exposing yourself to that, then the neurotransmitters that are being released while you are connected to that is digesting along with the food that you're eating. And this food that you're eating is converted into your plasma, into your blood, into your muscle, into your bone marrow, your reproductive juices and fat. So this thought that you have had now became permanent into your tissues. And this is the environment that you're creating, which is why in the beginning I was talking about Sangha is important. The reason you make time every Friday or whenever you can to sit in the Sangha is somehow you want to change that thought process in you. Somehow you wanted to change that, and that pull was there. And this pull is going to change the neurotransmitters in such a way that these are all happy things that are being released, and that is being digested with the food that you're eating, and you're changing the chemical structure inside your body. And that is also going to be responsible for the type of symptoms that you experience during your perimenopause and menopausal years. Now, there's weight gain, there's hot flashes, there is also a lot of depletion that happens. So we can talk about everything separately, and we can talk about each one in detail, but I wanted to give you that introduction, and then I can take some questions, and then I can go back to asking giving you more details, because I didn't want it to be more like a lecture where you're just sitting there and listening to me. So Jyotsna, do you think this is the right time for me to for me to have them ask questions, or you want me to go on? Anything is okay, because I wasn't sure. I don't want, there's many new terms that I'm introducing. I just want to make sure that you're actually understanding the topic before we move on.
Definitely, Manju. I think this is, we just stepped into the most interesting topic about the neurotransmitters. I think you can go about giving them more information, giving all of us more information for a little bit more, and then we can step into the question and answer session. If anybody who does not agree with me, please feel free to, tell me. That's fine too.
Yeah. And also any of the things that I've just spoken, if you have questions on them and if that was too much or too little, please let me know, because I wasn't sure which how I would have to talk, and what is the level that I would have to talk. So I was just giving you an introduction of how Ayurveda works and how it works with perimenopause.
Manju, I think you're doing a great job, like, covering everything. But I didn't know the intermittent fasting could do so much damage also for you, because it all started, I feel like 4 years back. As you said, I did a half marathon, then my body kind of just like, I would say like went into like, I don't know. You know, I used to work out so much. Suddenly, with the perimenopause hitting and everything, I could see a downhill. But I think I did notice that I did some intermittent fasting and it didn't go quite well in my case. So I'm glad that you brought that up for us. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I will elaborate on that also, Vaishali. And this is something that I get, and the reason I spoke about all of this is these are some things that I talk in the clinic all the time. And these are some things that the causative factors that I see in the clinic all the time, where people come to me and they're like, most of the times I'm like, I need 90 minutes for anything. They're like, why would you need 90 minutes? I'm like, I need to know what your diet is. And they're like, I'm eating cleanest diet possible. And then they come to me and they're like, okay, let me know what your diet is. And they would start with I am drinking a smoothie in the morning, which has milk in it, which has banana, berries, and whey protein and almonds in it. And I drink it in the morning fresh. I'm like, first of all, stop that. And everybody's eyes roll because it is the heaviest thing that you can do early in the morning, and you're starting off your metabolism at that time. And I tell them that, that's not the right thing to do. And then the opposite is also true, like what you're mentioning, Vaishali, is where there is extremism, where they suppress their hunger from they're like, I have to maintain this 18-hour window or 12-hour window, and then they have only this much window and they squeeze everything during this time. It's like your boss telling you can go on a vacation for 3 months, and then you come back and you cover all of that in a month, right?
So
So
I was actually listening to my body immediately in like 1 month or so. I tried. So what I did started doing is cutting down that window, like increasing that window. Sorry, cutting down that window to 12 hours, say 13 hours. That would fit perfectly with my routine instead of doing 16 or 14. That's what I do, and it works for me. But thank you so much for telling this. Though that's completely correct. I agree with you.
absolutely. Thank you, Vaishali. And then we'll go back to the mind and how that is. And I know about the Sangha as well. Kripa was asking, explain more about the Sangha, why the Sangha is important. Because there are three things that change us, that is going to define us: food, environment, and the people that we hang out with. The food that you eat is very important because it's like, my teacher would always say, you eat truckloads of food and you're still the same. Every day, if you imagine, if you eat like a kg of food, so out of all your lifetime, imagine you've eaten tons and tons of food has gone through this food pipe for all these years, right? What's going on with that food? The food that we eat is being converted. It's the enzymes that we have are changing that into our own body. So the skin that we have is very different from what I had 40 days ago. This is completely different. And this is the way that we, when we have wounds, we bounce back. When we have anything, we bounce back. Because shiryate tat shariram. Anything that depletes is sharira, right? So constant depletion is happening. Maintaining health is a chore because it is not something that is static like this. It's always going up and down and up and down. So all you have to make sure is you're not going all the way up or you're not going all the way down. The peaks and troughs should not be so much. That is the goal that we have. Because a lot of time people are like, oh my God, I'm following Ayurveda. How can I get sick? I cannot be sick. No, we're all humans. We have to accept that. So that is what food does to it. Depending upon the quality of food, depending upon the processing, the way that you have processed the food, depending on the way that you're eating your food, depending on the way that you've prepared your food, all of this decides how your plasma is working, how your blood is working. Your blood is jivana karma, it carries the life force. Your muscle is important, it is carrying everything. All of these tissues strength depends upon your food, and that's why every time we talk about it, we talk about how annam param brahma is what we say, right? Then we talk about the next aspect of environment. How does your environment change you? If it's cold outside, you put your jacket on. You want to make sure that you're protecting yourself. Depending upon the temperature outside, it's going to either open up or close your pores and allow for excretion to happen, allow for metabolism to happen. And that is why if you are in colder countries, your digestion is much more, your digestive fire is much more, where your pores are all blocked, compared to when you are in the hotter countries. North India and South India, you always notice that in South India we eat very very light foods, fermented foods. That's what we can digest. In North India, they're able to eat naan, which is heavier. They're able to eat paneer, which is heavier. The environment is going to be changing you and defining you. That is the second thing that you have to remember. The third thing is the Sangha that Jyotsna wanted me to elaborate on is how are you going to be connecting with your Sangha? Is it going to uplift you or is it going to bring you down? What is the Sangha that you are dealing with, you are connecting with on a daily basis? Because if you are with a Sangha which is competing with you all the time or which is uh, telling you things that puts you down, then there are koshas that are present. I'm sure you're all learned people and you're all talking about koshas. There is Manomaya kosha, and around Manomaya kosha there is Pranamaya kosha, and around Pranamaya kosha there is Annamaya kosha. Now, if I say, Chitra, you're the worst person ever. How can you ever do that? I know, sorry. I had to take that example. I had to take that randomly. You're right in front of me. If I do that, then it's going to be affecting your Manomaya kosha. Why did Manju say that? Why did she single me out? There are 14 people in the. Why did she single me out? And then your mind starts thinking. When it starts thinking, what is happening? There are chemicals that are being released because there is serotonin, there is dopamine, there is epinephrine. These are the kind of neurotransmitters. These are the chemicals that are being released about the thought that just happened. And these chemicals that are being released are subtle. They are very subtle. And these subtle chemicals are going to be changing the breath pattern because outside your Manomaya kosha is Pranamaya kosha. That's when you're going to be breathing very fast. You're like, okay, how can she do that to me? This is not possible. And then your breath stops, your breath goes faster. And this is going to be now connected to your increased palpitations, your increased sweating, your increased changes in the gut where the pit in the gut happens, or you have loose stools that happens, you have nervousness that happens. This is how it is translated into. Now, it is not necessary the very first time you're going to be seeing all of these. There is something called a cumulative effect. If you're continuing in the same, you are bathing. There are 72,000 nadis that are present in the body. And these 72,000 nadis are being bathed by breath, just like Nataraja is doing a dance. So the dance is happening throughout all the time. We're going away, doing all the things. And this breath is doing a dance like a Nataraja throughout all of your nadis. And when that dance is happening, that is going to be affecting how your liver is functioning, how your pancreas is functioning, because depending upon which nadi is affected, then that chakra alignment is going to be affected. And that chakra, so we all know that there are seven chakras, and we all know the placement of the chakras also. And according to the placement of the chakra, example, if you have your Swadhisthana chakra or you have Manipura chakra, around the Manipura chakra, of course, your liver and pancreas and spleen are all connected there. If the nadis around there are affected because your breath changed, because your mind had a thought, then these chakras are aligned, are misaligned, and then your organs that are connected to these chakras are now affected continuously and eternally. You will not know this until you see a symptom or until you see a lab value. You will not see it. But if you trace back, and I call myself a detective, I am not an Ayurvedic practitioner. I call myself a detective because I have to go back and look at what the causative factor is. This is how your mind is going to be either misaligning or realigning your nadis and your chakras so that your organs are going to be either going to be depleted or going to be nourished. I don't know if that made sense to all of you. So I just wanted to keep it brief also. I know I'm looking at time at 6:45. Some of you are in East Coast, and I wanted to give time for you to ask me questions as well. But that is an elaboration of what you were asking about, Jyotsna.
That was extremely clear and very insightful explanation, Manju. I'm sure many of us, or probably all of us, found this extremely valuable, and we all connected with it as well. People here are very much aware of Manomaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Vignanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha, and this explanation from the Ayurvedic perspective is tremendously and extremely useful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And that's why know who you are connecting with, know who you are always hanging out with. It's important that you remove the weeds out and, stay with whoever you have to. It's not worth it.
Absolutely. So, shall we move on to the question and answer session then? Okay.
Absolutely.
So, I will first start with the submitted questions to begin with, but
Mhm.
I also encourage each one of you after Manju spoke, you must be having new questions. So, please feel free to ask in the chat box or unmute yourself. But in the meanwhile, I'll keep reading them out to whatever is available right now. I'll start reading them out. So, the first question was, how does one handle weight gain during menopause? And what is the best diet to start the day with during this perimenopausal or menopausal stage?
Very good. So we spoke about how weight gain has actually happened to begin with, right? We spoke about how years before you go back and look at what was the kapha things that you have done. You would have either eaten heavy foods, or there was emotionally also this, there was probably some level of chinta, which is a lot of thoughts that would have happened, and sedentary life. So look at all of those, and of course these are all the things that you have to always look at. These are all like a common things that you already know. No sedentary life. You want to make sure that there is active life all the time, and the diet that you were asking about, to make sure that the food always has to be cooked, because we're talking about estrogen has reduced right now, and the metabolism has reduced. Because of that reason, the digestive enzymes are not able to break down food properly. So now the foods that you were eating in the past, which were digesting properly in the past, suddenly you start feeling that there is gluten sensitivity, or you're gaining weight even with the same foods that you were eating in the past. Now, what you have to do is, when you're asking about the diet, you begin with in the morning, it always has to be light breakfast. It cannot be heavy breakfast to begin with, because we spoke about kapha kala. And that light breakfast can be something like a warm porridge to begin with. At about 8 or 9, you can eat like a warm porridge, which can be with an amaranth or oatmeal or even ragi, millet porridge, any of that warm porridge, just so that you are giving, breakfast is just breaking your fast. Unless none of us are triathlon runners, or we're not doing any construction work, or we're not farm workers. If we are that, then we can do something like a heavy breakfast in the morning. Otherwise, light breakfast, and then eating a proper meal between 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It is important that we follow the sun cycle at this time, and you eating carb in the form of, it can be rajmudi rice, which is, like a red rice that is going to be beneficial. And cook this rice, remove the starch, cook it on open top and remove the starch, and add cooked vegetables only. Add spices to it. Very, very, very important to add spices like cumin powder. So spices does not mean that I'm saying add sriracha or add, like garam masala. That's not what I'm asking about. Add cumin powder, coriander powder, hing, dry ginger powder. All of this must be added properly. A good amount of dal, good amount of cooked vegetables, small portion of any of the carbs like the wheat and rice, and you have a probiotic in the form of buttermilk. So that is a proper meal that you're eating because sun is at its high and you're able to break it down properly. And then your evening meal is always going to be very, very light. It's going to be just soups. You can just saute garlic if you want to, add all the squashes and the zucchinis and the sweet potatoes, radish, any of these vegetables that you want to, blend it very well, and you can just eat the soup for dinner. So this, if you can continue, again, depending upon if making sure that there is proper activity and you're eating light breakfast, very good amount of lunch, and then breaking with dinner at like 6:30, 7ish with soup. And if you're still hungry, you can add a little bit of grain with the soup as well. But if you generally follow this with an active lifestyle, this is going to be benefiting you with reducing weight. Now, another thing that you also want to include is, I mean, we spoke about how you want to make sure that you are your company is good, your environment is good, food is good. Next important thing is breath work, because what happens is there are many free radicals that are released. These are all chemical reactions. Thoughts are all chemical reactions. Food digestion is all chemical reactions, and we know that free radicals are being released. Now, for that free radicals to be stabilized, the easiest way is to do pranayama. I've had someone that came to the clinic yesterday and she followed everything to the T. She was like, did the pranayama, did the meditation. I gave her only one herb, and I only gave her diet and lifestyle changes. She came to me, 7 pounds she lost in 1 month. And and I was like, I wish everybody is like this, where follow whatever I ask you to do, no? And I was jealous of her because I couldn't follow my own meditation and breath work for the past month because I was traveling and doing all of that. But these are all the things that we see, we take it for granted. Most of the times, what we do is we want to do to reduce weight. What can I do? What can I do? What else can I do? What can we undo? What kind of lifestyle are we leading? Are we stabilizing ourselves? Are we allowing our free radicals to be stable? And that is going to be possible with proper breath work. Alternate nostril is a very good one. Do not do Kapalbhati. Of course, Kapalbhati is okay, but alternate nostril and deep relaxation breathing, these are the things that you would have to do. And again, making sure that proper sleep, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. is when moon is high, moon energy is high, and that's when free radicals will also be stabilized at that time. So if you're saying that I'm sleeping 8 hours, but if you sleep at 2 a.m. till 10 a.m., then you're losing that time where moon energy is helping you. We spoke about three factors that help us: food, environment, and company. And environment is helping us, sun in the afternoon is helping us break down our lunch, and moon in the night is allowing for the stabilizing of the free radicals. That is why it is important to maintain this lifestyle. Sorry, Jyotsna, I gave a wrong answer.
What should I do to get rid of joint pains?
The best thing that Ayurveda recommends is something called Abhyanga, which is a full body oil massage. I cannot tell you how much of a benefit it gives you. So, we spoke about how there is Vata stage of the life that we're kicking into when we're getting into peri-menopause and menopause stage of life, and you're depleting the air element and space element is increasing, right? Now, your Vata increase will reduce when you do something called Snehana and Svedana, which is Snehana is applying oil all over your body. You can take sesame oil. Sesame oil is something that is universally beneficial. Or if you are a very depleted Vata kind of a personality, you can use something called Kshira Bala Tailam or Bala Ashwagandha Tailam. You can use them. Warm the oil, apply all over your body, especially on your joints. You can just gently apply all over your joints, circular motion on your joints, on your wrist, all your big joints and the small joints. Apply all over the body, lather all over your body, and then wait for at least 15 minutes. You can have like clothes that you call them oil clothes, where you can just put on these clothes and you can just still do your morning chores, and then you can shower, which is with the svedana, which is the sweating that happens. When you do this consistently, This is going to be allowing for your body. Your skin is the biggest mouth, it has so many pores. And this skin is the way that you're going to be absorbing all of this oil in and allowing for the cartilage to increase. So, that is something that I would recommend very, very much. Another thing that you would want to increase is soaked almonds. You can include, like at least 10 soaked almonds every day. Again, I'm assuming that all of us are able to digest it, and that's why I'm mentioning that. You can include soaked almonds every day, and that's going to be very beneficial. Another thing that you can also do is including proper soups in your diet. That is also because anything that you digest very well is also allowing your bone strength to increase. And I cannot stress much more about weight training. Weight training is something that you would want to do to strengthen your muscles. You want to strengthen your tissues. Again, a lot of times people, and especially in the gyms and especially in the personal trainers, they always say you have to take protein. You have to take this much protein if you're training, strength training, and everything. I don't want you to do beyond your capacity. Normally, what happens is, oh my God, I spoke with Manju. From tomorrow onwards, every single day, I have to do this workout. Pada. Ayurveda always talks about you have to slowly and gradually introduce your body to anything. You cannot force anything to the body just because you've learned about it. And you want to slowly introduce it to the body and include your, warm milk in the diet, include soaked almonds in the diet, include sesame, especially right now it's in a spring. Sesame is going to be a little bit warming, but sesame and jaggery laddus is going to be extremely beneficial. Or gond, especially in winters, you can do, like the gum gond laddus, and abhyanga, which is oiling all over your body, and strength training. These are all the things that's going to be beneficial for protecting your bones. And one more important thing is for you to check your vitamin D levels and calcium levels. And it is okay to take supplements because our liver and our pancreas is probably not functioning the way it is supposed to. In that case, it is okay if you've been depleted for a long period of time to give supplements. But otherwise, Ayurvedically, this is what I would recommend.
Thank you, Manju. So, is there any MCG that you would recommend for vitamin D and calcium?
It depends upon the numbers also, Jyotsna. If we are, below 10, you definitely would want to take like a 50,000 IU every week. But generally, if you are in your like 20s, let's say 20 or 25, 1,000 to 2,000 IU every day is going to be okay. And calcium also, you can take, again, make sure that you're depleted, and only then you take the calcium. You can take 500 milligrams calcium every day.
Okay, wonderful. So the next question, suggest some dietary changes, diet plan was the question. What to avoid and what to take? I think you have already covered that. But is there anything that you would love to add? What to avoid and what to take? Is there anything that we need to really avoid during this stage?
Yeah, so avoiding definitely spicy, sour, and salty foods.
Okay.
And Ayurveda talks about something called incompatible food combination. This incompatible food combination is milk and fruits together, or milk and salt together, or fish and milk together, or cooking with yogurt. These are all the things that makes the food poisonous. It is called incompatible food combination. So these are the things I would definitely say stay away from. And I would also say stay away from raw foods. And I would say stay away from smoothies. Anything that is fried foods, you want to stay away from that as well. And the superfoods, people are talking about so many superfoods that you want to, growing up, I always remember my mom would always, make breakfast, and then as soon as the breakfast is done, she would start making lunch prep, and then she would make the dinner prep. And then I was like, can we just invent? I was like, my pharmacist brain at that time, I was a student, and I was like, I want to just invent a tablet that you can just take every day so you don't have to go through all of this. That's what I would tell my mom. But that is what is coming out now. Everybody is like the super food and packaged food. But you have to remember that, is our liver able to break it down? Is it really able to absorb all of that? So instead of all of that super packaged foods, I would urge all of us, if we are able to get to the kitchen, cook simplest foods and eat that simple foods, that is good enough.
Wonderful. So the next question, I know at this stage, most of the body type would be Vata for most of them, but it also depends on, it varies from person to person. How can one identify one's own body type in general?
Very good question. And yes, generally you're going through the Vata stage of your life, which means that you're going through a Vata Vikriti. So there's something called a Prakriti and there's something called a Vikriti. So, Prakriti is something that you're born with. You're born as a pitta, or you're born as a kapha, or you're born as a vata also. So, for you to identify what your body type is and for you to be able to protect yourself from any of the depletion to happen, these are all the general things that I spoke about originally would be important for you. So, for a vata personality, watch out for dryness in the body. Watch out for, they are very creative. You're very creative, or a lot of restlessness. You're like, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to attend Manju's talk, I want to go to the temple, I want to attend this talk, but I don't have energy to do all of this. So there's a lot of restlessness that happens in the body. And even in general, you see that they're always talking very fast, and they're like they talk very fast. The way you speak also is very, very fast. They cannot, because their mind and speech is not connected. Their mind is going much, much faster than what they're speaking, right? So this is the air element, anything that's air element. So this is the vata. When you are a vata personality, you want to make sure that you're stabilizing, you're sleeping well, you're not saying yes to all the parties that you're invited to. All of this is important. Now, if you're a pitta personality, you're a leader. You have a solid plan that at 6 p.m. this talk is supposed to start. What happened? 6:05, Jyotsna did not start the talk yet. What is going on? Because you have planned your day. It's like 7:03. What time is Manju going to end? They said 60 to 75 minutes. Is she really going to end at 75 minutes? I have to go to. They are super planned that way, and they want their loved ones to be planned like them also. They get irritated if their loved ones are not planned like them, and they are very angry. They get angry very well, and hungry and hangry, we call them hangry. So for them, you want to make sure that you're staying away from spicy, sour, salty foods, nowhere near them, and you are including ghee. A medicated ghee or regular ghee is extremely important. Milk and ghee are their best friends. And again, cooked foods and all of them is normal for everybody. And then comes the kapha personality. A kapha personality will speak in such a way that they will put you all to sleep. They talk very, very, I know I'm talking extreme. I'm talking extreme personalities, but they talk very, very slow, very sweet voice, very, all the singers have kapha, right? But they have this inertia. If you have to be a slapping mother for them. If you're not a slapping mother, then that inertia will not allow them to do things. However, they have lots of energy, they have lots of capacity within them. It's like that Hanuman, where they have the lots of capacity, but you have to be behind them, and you have to push them, and you have to make sure that they know what they're supposed to do. And with this kapha personality, you have to make sure that you include proper spices in your diet. You are not including heavy foods in your diet, like sweets are not something, and excessive grains is not something that you include in your diet. No fried foods. You want to include more activity in your daily routine. So understanding, either you have to go ahead and look at your environment, where am I having more air element? Is it looking like more air element restlessness, or is it looking like more fire, where I am getting angry with everything? Or am I looking like watery, where I am more emotional and I'm feeling all of this? So you understand, and then these stages change also. You can have a combination. It is not necessary, it is not possible, not, I wouldn't say it is not necessary, it is not possible for a person to be entirely pitta, entirely kapha, entirely vata. Depending upon the stage of your life, it can change. So you have to constantly, like I said in the beginning itself, maintaining this is a chore. You have to constantly be observing yourself. Yeah.
Thank you, Manju.
Yeah.
So, moving on to the next question. Could you talk about insulin resistance and how it is connected to this phase and what should be done to get over it? And I don't know if this is related, but there was a related question which asked how to handle the sugar cravings.
Okay, absolutely. So, insulin is released because your body is like, okay, I want to break down food, and your insulin is released, right? But your liver, if it is blocked, the food that comes through is demanding more insulin, and insulin is released, but your liver is blocked because of all of this blockage that's happening, and it's not functioning, it's not releasing the enzymes. Even though the insulin is much more, it's not releasing what it's supposed to release. This is again because of kapha increase. Kapha vikriti is what we call when there is insulin resistance. That is when metabolism slows down so much. Imagine that there is water, an earth element that is blocking all the organs, and it's not allowing the release of the enzymes that is necessary for breaking down. Now, your insulin keeps on increasing because this other organs are not functioning very well. In this situation, you want to make sure that you are giving a diet in such a way that your liver is activated. And that kind of food, you can probably include something like a radish in the diet. Drumstick is a very good thing that you can include. Pippali is something that we give. Maricha, shunti, trikatu is something that we give in Ayurveda. In that in that situation, what happens is that your liver is kindled and activated. Then the enzymes are released, and then insulin will also be working with all of these enzymes and break it down properly. Right? So this is a kaphaja condition where you want to make sure that the breaking down of this veil is necessary, and that breaking down of the veil is going to be possible if you do your workout very well, and if you eat proper cooked foods and you eat spices properly. Then this breaking down of the veil is going to be happening, and proper enzymes are going to be released. Now, sugar cravings can happen because of emotional problems as well. When I just broke up with my boyfriend, and if I have that problem where my mind is wanting to spend time and my mind is thinking about all the times, then it wants to pacify somehow. And 80 million births we have taken before we have taken this human birth. All of this 80 million births, two things are common: food and sex. So, food is something that was used as a mechanism to overcome this emotional drainage that we have. So, that is something that we have to always look at, right? So, look at, okay, really, am I really hungry? Why am I feeling this? I have a client that comes in and she's like, super good throughout, but when it comes to her husband's death anniversary, that is something that she couldn't get over, and she just goes on eating, binge eating whatever, and nobody can say anything to her at that time, right? So these are the patterns that we have to always recognize. Number one, that's number one reason for sugar craving. Number two is where there is something called krimi in Ayurveda, where there is worms, intestinal worms. They also allow for you to crave for sugar. That is number two reason. And that's something an Ayurvedic practitioner can work with you and explain it to you. And number three is where it's like a flood situation, right? Where you have a lot of sugar in the blood, but that sugar is not translated into the organs because your organs are all blocked and your organs are not receiving the sugar. And because your organs are depleted, they seemingly are like, I want more sugar. So this flood kind of a situation where there is flood around, there's water all around, and I cannot drink that water, but I'm thirsty. That's what happens to the organs. There's sugar all around, but I cannot use that sugar because I'm not able to convert that and bring it into the organs. So these are the three reasons why sugar cravings can happen. So understanding what the reason is and addressing it is important.
Beautiful. So, moving on to the next question. Is there any specific amount of water intake for women during this stage?
Always listen to your body. Always listen to what your thirst mechanism is. There is something called a thirst mechanism that is present in the body, and always listen to the thirst mechanism. And typically at least 6 to 8 cups of water, but include, one thing that I would always tell you is there's something called dhanya kahima, which is coriander water. Soak 1 tablespoon of one tablespoon of crushed coriander seeds in half a liter of water overnight, and next morning you can filter that water and sip on that water throughout the day. This is going to be curbing your thirst for all of those pitta people that have lots of hot flashes and all of that. This is going to be beneficial. Another important thing is vetiver roots. There is ushir or vetiver roots that are present. This also is very, very cooling. You can add 10 strands of vetiver roots in half a liter of water in the morning, and filter that and drink that in the evening. So morning dhanya kahima, evening is ushira is vetiver roots water. This is going to be beneficial in allowing you to handle your thirst and handle your hot flashes. But in general, listening to your thirst mechanism, because for Vata persons, it could be much more. For Pitta people, it could be much more. But for Kapha people, it's less. So understanding what your thirst mechanism is and drinking it. There's nothing that Ayurveda mentions that you have to drink this much only.
Awesome. So, what is the importance of Nabhi oiling?
Nabhi oil is very important. We spoke about Nabhi Purana. This is called Nabhi Purana. And we spoke about 72,000 nadis that are present. Most of the nadis are present around the Nabhi only. So, when you apply oil and when you pour oil into that area, you're allowing the lubrication of the nadis that are present around it. And that is going to bring a lot of stability and a lot of lubrication to that area. So, Nabhi Purana is extremely beneficial in Ayurveda.
Is there
What kind of
any
oil is it? What which
Sesame
oil?
oil. You can use sesame oil.
Like you use a dropper, like how many drops to be do it? Like
You can do 2 to 3 drops.
okay.
And what's your opinion on castor oil, Manju? People say it is, some people say it increases, it is good, and some people have an opinion that it is not exactly the right oil at this point of time.
So castor oil, Jyotsna, is used. Castor oil is called as Eranda Tailam, and the synonym of that is Vatari. Vata Ari. It is an enemy of Vata. So, castor oil, when taken internally, is extremely beneficial for many neuromuscular and musculoskeletal conditions that people go through, especially when there's fibromyalgia, when there is any disc enlargement, any of these musculoskeletal conditions that are present. Castor oil is extremely beneficial. However, you would not want to do a lot of it. You want to take the castor oil along with milk, like a 5 ml castor oil along with milk as a vehicle, so that the heat that is produced by castor oil is going to be mitigated by milk, because milk is cold virya, shita virya. So you take it with warm milk and castor oil, and you can take it once a week, so that there is some kind of purgation that happens, and this purgation is like a detox that you can take it internally and allow for vata and pitta to stabilize. Now externally, if you're asking, you're absolutely okay to apply externally, because again, this is vatari and it reduces vata, so you can apply externally as well and do a massage externally on the abdomen.
Wonderful, Manju. So, now I'm going to read the questions from our audience. So, the first question is, what is the importance of Ayurvedic practice? 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 What is the importance of Ayurvedic practice?
Oh, you're muted, Jyotsna.
Oh, thank you. So I'm going to read these questions from the chat here. How
Yeah.
does Ayurveda view perimenopause versus menopause versus post-menopause? Is there a clear do's and don'ts in these different phases as well?
Hmm. So, so when you're going from the perimenopause, it is you're moving from pitta vata. So there is either pitta and vata, pitta and vata. You're moving from one to another dosha. And then when you get to menopause, you are vata. And post menopause is even vata, kevala vata is what we call. So during the perimenopausal age, you want to make sure that you are pacifying your pitta also with the dhanya kahima that I was talking about, vetiver roots that I was talking about, not eating a lot of spicy foods, and not engaging in a lot of discussions which can increase anger. That's what you would do in the perimenopausal stages. In the menopausal and the postmenopausal stages, it is important that you completely, and of course, again, other things can also happen. Pitta and kapha can also be there, but generally, it is vata that you would be pacifying much more at this time, which means that you will be doing a lot of abhyangas and you want to sleep well, and you want to make sure that you are including some medicated ghees and the oils internally as well. That is what the difference is between perimenopause and menopause.
Great, thank you, Manju. We'll take one last question here. Can you comment on chronic anxiety and depression and the role of meditation?
Yeah, absolutely. I can take another session about that because anxiety and depression, unfortunately, is become that's what we were talking about, because there's a lot of information that we get and a lot of comparison that happens, and the people that we hang out with also makes a lot of difference, especially with teenagers. I see this a lot. And I was also talking to someone. This is the most difficult thing for us to deal with in the clinic also. It's not easy. And that's why it's very close to me. That topic is very, very close to me. And the reason I feel like I can practice is my breathwork and meditation sessions, that the practices and the sadhana that I've been doing ever since 2008. And that is something that I will not let go for anything. And it is important to do meditation. However, you cannot force anybody, because what happens is when we introduce breathwork and meditation for people who are going through anxiety and depression, their anxiety depression increases much more, because everything that is stored, as soon as you meditate, as soon as you sit down and close your eyes, you're experiencing all those things that you have suppressed all these years. They're like, this is horrible, I cannot do it, right? So counseling is extremely important. You have to go through the root cause and you have to counsel and you have to allow them to talk to people that are going to be understanding what they're going through. And then it is okay to introduce meditation one at a time. If not, this meditation itself is going to be a struggle for them. But otherwise, meditation is extremely beneficial, but you have to take it in a phased version. And in Ayurveda, we have many herbs that we give, medicated ghees that we give, and many therapies that we give. Shirodhara and such are also given.
I completely agree with you in the topic of meditation, Manju, because I saw that when we become our own gurus in meditation, not knowing our own condition, the limited mind can create an entirely a different falsification of the things, and everything that is stored within as emotions or feelings, they keep surrounding, and the person tends to go in an inward circle. So it's I always believe that meditation should always be guided from an expert point of view. And my personal opinion is, if that is not possible, the surrender and bhakti should be one of the ways where this is one form of meditation, right? So is one beautiful way uh,
Correct.
to evolve.
Absolutely, absolutely true. Absolutely true. Surrender is the only way to evolve. But then for us to get to the surrender stage, especially when there is anxiety and depression, it's a lot of counseling that is required for them to get to that stage also.
Very true. There is
Yeah.
one beautiful question here, Manju. I think this is a question for everyone. The
Mhm.
alkaline water, water stored in copper vessel overnight and consuming first thing in the morning. Do you advise this to follow daily?
Absolutely, you can. However, do not heat that water, because if you heat that water, the properties changes. So you can, but you two things that you have to remember, that you don't heat that, and you have to make sure that the copper is being cleaned properly
Hmm.
every time. If you do that, you can absolutely do that. That's you can absolutely follow that every day. It's going to be very beneficial.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I ask, sorry to take the time. First of all, thank you so much for the, elaborate information about peri-menopause and all the doshas and everything. I have a quick question about the things you said about the people, environment, and the food, environment, and people. So we can control food and environment most of the time. But when we go outside, there are people, especially in the workplace, you can't, it is not in your control, because they will talk, they will do lot of things. Because I have experienced little some about that environment. When I go in the morning, like 6 7 o'clock, the two people, if they are like they are talking, but
Mm-hmm.
talking in the way that to put someone down, or to something like that, not exactly. But when you hear in that in the morning, that always goes into your mind, right? So how can we avoid that kind of you know
So you cannot avoid. You cannot change anybody. It is not possible for you to change, and you cannot keep changing your jobs. You cannot keep changing your house, especially if it's inside your house and you're having to deal with, people that can be inside your house, and you have to deal with them every day. That's when all these practices where you have to create your own sangha outside, where you're creating right now, where you're able to spend time with them and get that positivity, and also practice your breath work, where you are aligning your nataraja is allowing your nadis to open up, and you're doing your meditation. So these are all the ways that you are creating a veil around yourself, so that all the things that are coming to you are not going through that
affecting?
veil and bouncing back. So that is like the immunity that you are trying to protect and you're trying to develop for yourself. So you cannot change people, and you cannot be avoiding people also. It's not possible. When I
Right.
say that they affect you, when I say that you have to stay away from you, that does not, I'm not implying that you have to stay away from them, but you have to deliberately make an effort to create a sangha for yourself, while the sangha that's already been created for you, because this is a karma that you have to go through in this lifetime, then there's something that you are learning in this lifetime. So these are all the techniques that you have to follow.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
It